Have you ever felt trapped in your own life? Like no matter what you do, you're stuck in the same place? I want you to know something today. Your reality is not fixed. Not one bit. What you see, what you feel, the circumstances around you, they can all change. But here's the truth. It starts with one thing. You think about a seed. A tiny, unassuming seed. It sits in the soil, buried under dirt, alone, forgotten. But inside that seed is all the potential to become a towering tree. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for the perfect day. It starts growing, slowly, painfully, but persistently. And one day, it breaks through the ground and touches the sky. Your reality works the same way. The life you have now is not your final chapter. You are capable of growth, of change, of transformation. But here's the catch. Change doesn't happen by wishing. It happens by acting. Every thought, every choice, every small action you take is like sunlight and water for your potential. Ask yourself, what have you been tolerating in your life? Maybe it's a job that drains you. Maybe it's fear that keeps you silent. Maybe the belief that says, I'm not enough. And here's the key question. Who said that has to be your truth? Let me tell you a story. There was a man who failed not once, not twice, but 5 times in business. Each time he faced humiliation, loss, and doubt. Most people would give up. Most people would accept reality as it is. But he refused to believe his failures defined him. He adjusted, learned, tried again, and eventually built an empire. That man was me. No, just kidding. That man was Abraham Lincoln. He became the leader of a nation despite countless setbacks. If he could change his reality, so can you. Now, changing your reality doesn't mean escaping challenges. Life will always throw storms. But it does mean choosing how you respond. Do you shrink or do you rise? Do you complain or do you create? Here's a truth that is hard but powerful. The world outside mirrors the world inside. You cannot expect abundance if you live in scarcity in your mind. You cannot expect joy if you carry bitterness. You cannot expect love if you withhold it. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your energy, they shape the reality you live in. Imagine a life where you wake up excited. A life where fear doesn't dictate your choices. A life where every day feels like a step closer to your dreams. That life is not a fantasy. It is possible, but it requires courage. It requires persistence, and it requires a commitment to yourself. So start small. Change one thought, one habit, one action. Plant the seed today. Water it consistently, and watch as your world begins to transform. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the right time. The time is now. You are capable. You are worthy. And your reality is ready for change. Ask yourself every morning, what can I do today to move closer to the life I deserve? Take that step. Then another. And slowly, inevitably, you will look back and realize you didn't just change your life. You changed your reality. Remember, the power has always been in your hands. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not someday. Today. Here are some key points related to this. Your current reality is not permanent. Transformation starts with you. Small, consistent actions compound into massive change over time. Failures and setbacks are stepping stones, not definitions of your potential. Your inner thoughts and beliefs shape the world you experience. Courage, persistence, and self-commitment are essential to changing your reality. Take action now. Every step forward brings your dream life closer. Have you ever stopped to notice how often we convince ourselves that life is something fixed, something unchangeable? We wake up, go through the motions, see the same people, face the same struggles, and we begin to whisper in our own minds, this is just who I am. This is just my life. And somewhere deep down, we accept it. But here's the truth. The life you're living today is only a snapshot. It's a photograph, not a full story. It is not permanent. It is not the sum total of your potential. And it is certainly not a sentence you must endure forever. I want you to imagine a caterpillar. For days, it crawls along the edge of a leaf, mindlessly, tirelessly, living a simple, limited life. Its world is small, its movements predictable. It might seem like that is all it will ever be. But inside, something miraculous is happening. The caterpillar spins its cocoon, disappears into darkness, and emerges as a butterfly, a creature of flight, of color, of freedom. No one watching from the outside could have predicted it. Even the caterpillar itself could not have imagined the wings that were waiting inside. Transformation does not start with the world changing. It starts with the courage to become something different inside. And your reality works the same way. Maybe right now you're feeling stuck. Maybe your job doesn't fulfill you. Maybe your relationships are strained. Maybe you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. That doesn't mean this is your permanent state. It doesn't mean that change is impossible. It simply means that your potential is still dormant. Like that caterpillar. You have a cocoon of possibility wrapped around you. And the first step toward breaking out is realizing that the cocoon exists. Think about someone you know, maybe a friend, a family member, a public figure, someone who transformed their life. J.K. Rowling, before she became the world-famous author of Harry Potter, was living in near poverty, rejected by multiple publishers, and struggling as a single mother. She could have looked at her reality and accepted it, but she refused. She chose to act despite the fear, despite the rejection. She chose to believe that her story, her creativity, her dreams were more powerful than her circumstances. And because she did, the world now knows her name. That's what it means to change your reality. It starts with a recognition that where you are is not where you have to stay. Sometimes, though, it's not a grand, visible change. Sometimes it's a quiet, internal revolution. I know a man who, for years, lived under the shadow of his own self-doubt. Every opportunity felt like it would slip through his fingers. Every relationship felt fragile. He believed he was destined to live a mediocre life. One day, he started journaling, not big plans, not career moves, just writing down one thing he could do differently each day. At first, it was tiny, speaking up at a meeting, introducing himself to a colleague, reading a new book. Slowly, the repetition of small, deliberate choices started to shift his mind. The more he acted, the more he believed in his own power. Within a year, he had applied for jobs he never thought he could get, built friendships he never imagined, and started a business on the side. His life didn't change overnight, but by refusing to accept permanence, by starting with himself, everything around him shifted. And that's the secret. Transformation always begins internally. The world doesn't change for you first. You change and the world responds. Imagine standing at the edge of a calm lake. The water reflects the sky above perfectly. If the sky is gray and stormy, the water mirrors it. If the sky is bright and golden, the lake shimmers with light. Your reality is like that lake. What is inside, your thoughts, your beliefs, your courage, ripples outward and touches everything around you. If you want a different reflection, start by changing the sky inside you. It's also important to remember that transformation requires bravery. It requires admitting that you are not content, that you are not satisfied, that you are willing to step into the unknown. I know someone who was living in a small town, feeling trapped by family expectations and societal norms. Every day felt like a mirror reflecting the same limitations. One morning, she made a decision that terrified her. She packed a bag, said goodbye, and moved to a city she had never visited before to pursue her dream of becoming an artist. The first few months were brutal. She questioned herself constantly. She faced rejection. But each day she kept going. She kept creating, she kept learning, she kept connecting. And slowly, her life began to shift. The reality she had thought was permanent had changed because she had changed first. Here's a question for you. What are you tolerating right now that you don't have to? What story are you telling yourself about your life that isn't true? That voice in your head that says, I can't, I'm not ready, it's too late. It is lying. Your reality is not permanent. Every moment holds a potential for transformation. Every choice you make is a seed you plant. And seeds grow. Slowly. Sometimes painfully. Sometimes in ways you cannot predict. But grow they will if you nurture them consistently. And it's not just about thinking positively. It's not about pretending that the challenges don't exist. Real change requires facing the truth, embracing discomfort, and taking responsibility for yourself. It requires saying, I may not like what I see, but I have the power to make it better. That is where the magic begins. That is where reality stops being a cage and starts being a canvas. I've seen it happen again and again. Ordinary people, just like you and me, waking up to the realization that their reality is not written in stone. A woman working in a factory started learning digital marketing in the evenings. A man stuck in debt started budgeting, investing, and studying finance. A teenager struggling with self-esteem started practicing daily affirmations and taking small steps to pursue a passion. None of them had superpowers. None of them had magic. They had one thing, the belief that their current life was not the final chapter. And that belief, acted upon, created a new reality. So look in the mirror tonight and ask yourself, am I living as if this is permanent, or am I ready to transform? Your current reality is only a starting point. The circumstances you see around you are not destiny. You are not a victim of time, place, or circumstance. You are the author of your story. You are the sculptor of your life. And it starts right here, right now, by choosing to believe that you can, by choosing to act as if change is possible, and by taking one step, however small, toward the life you want. Change begins with you. Every thought, every decision, every single action is a brushstroke on the canvas of your reality. The world may not bend immediately, but it bends eventually to the person who refuses to accept permanence. And that is the first step in the most important journey you will ever take, the journey of creating the life you were meant to live. Have you ever watched the ocean waves crash against the shore and wonder how something so gentle, so seemingly ordinary, can carve cliffs and shape coastlines over time? Each wave alone is small, almost insignificant. You barely notice it. But over years, decades, centuries, those tiny, consistent movements change everything. Life works in the same way. Transformation rarely arrives as a single explosion or a dramatic lightning strike. It comes quietly, persistently, almost invisibly, through the accumulation of small, deliberate actions. Imagine a man who dreamed of running a marathon. On the first day, he could barely jog a single block. His legs burned, his lungs ached, and he wanted to give up, but he made a choice. He would show up every day, even if it was just for 5 minutes. 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 minutes became 20. Slowly, steadily, he noticed changes, not massive ones, just subtle improvements. His endurance grew, his mind strengthened, his confidence expanded. Months later, he crossed the finish line, not because of a miracle, but because of the tiny, repeated steps he took every day. Each small action alone might have seemed meaningless, but together, they created transformation. This is the power of consistency. It's like planting seeds in a garden. If you water a seed once, it might survive. If you neglect it for weeks, it dies. But if you show up each day, carefully tending, protecting, nourishing, you cultivate growth. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't rush it. But eventually, a sprout breaks through the soil. Flowers bloom. Trees grow tall. And suddenly, the garden you tended quietly without fanfare becomes a thriving, vibrant ecosystem. That is how small actions, compounded over time, reshape your life. Let me tell you a story about a woman I know. She had always dreamed of writing a book, but life had other plans. Work, family, obligations. Every excuse kept her from starting. One night, frustrated and restless, she made a decision. She would write just 1 page a day. At first, it was hard. Some days she hated what she wrote. Other days, she forgot. But she kept showing up, day after day, week after week, page after page. Months later, she had completed her manuscript, not through talent alone, not through inspiration alone, but through daily, deliberate action. The cumulative effect of small steps turned a dream into reality. Consistency compounds not only skills, but character. A young man I once met wanted to improve his health. He didn't go to the gym for 3 hours each day. He started walking 20 minutes after work. Then he added a few push-ups. Then he began making small changes in his diet. Each choice seemed trivial at the moment, almost too small to matter. But over the course of a year, those small actions transformed his body, his energy, and his self-esteem. The point isn't the individual action. The point is the repetition, the steady commitment that turns tiny efforts into monumental results. The same principle applies to mindset. You can tell yourself positive affirmations once, but it won't change much. You can read a motivational book today and feel inspired, but that fleeting spark won't carry you through tomorrow. Real change happens when you commit to feeding your mind consistently. 10 minutes of meditation every morning, 5 minutes of journaling each night, reading a page of wisdom, thinking of one empowering thought, practicing one act of gratitude. Over time, your brain rewires, your perspective shifts. Your reality begins to align with the thoughts and habits you cultivate daily. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. There's a profound, almost invisible magic in showing up again and again, even when no one is watching. A teenager I knew struggled with self-doubt. Every day, she promised herself she would practice piano for 10 minutes. Some days, she didn't feel like it. Some days, she was tempted to quit. But she made the commitment anyway. By the end of the year, she not only improved tremendously, but she learned a powerful lesson. She could rely on herself. That trust became a foundation for other areas of her life. Small, consistent actions compound not only results but self-belief. Sometimes, life tempts us to wait for the big moment, the perfect opportunity, the right circumstances. But opportunities rarely come fully formed. They appear for the person who has been quietly preparing, day after day, step by step. Consider a young entrepreneur I met who dreamed of starting a business. He couldn't quit his job immediately, couldn't risk everything at once. So he started small. He worked on his business idea an hour every evening. He read about marketing, experimented with products, learned from failures, all in small, consistent chunks. 5 years later, his side project had grown into a thriving company. The world saw success, but no one saw the countless evenings, the tiny repeated actions that made it possible. Consistency also compounds hope. In moments of struggle, it's easy to feel hopeless. Progress feels invisible. But even when results are slow, every small action is a step forward. It's like stacking bricks. One brick alone doesn't make a house. 10 bricks barely resemble a structure. But day after day, brick by brick, suddenly you find walls, foundations, rooms. The house exists, even if it took months to see. The principle is the same in life. Consistent action is the architecture of your future. And this doesn't apply only to success or achievement. Consistency strengthens relationships, too. Think about friendships or love. Sending one message, offering one act of kindness, showing up for someone once may seem small, but repeating these actions daily builds trust, intimacy, and connection. Relationships, like gardens, thrive on the accumulation of small, consistent gestures. Ignore them and they wither. Nurture them and they flourish. The lesson is simple yet profound. Massive change is not born from grand gestures. It is born from a repetition of small, seemingly insignificant actions compounded over time. Each choice, each habit, each effort matters, not immediately, but cumulatively. Each day you show up, each time you act intentionally, you are building the bridge from the life you have to the life you desire. So, ask yourself, what small actions can you take today? Maybe it's writing one paragraph, reading 10 pages, sending one message, walking one block, meditating for 5 minutes. It might feel too small to matter. It might feel invisible. But over weeks, months, years, these small, consistent steps create momentum. They create change. They create transformation. They create a reality you will one day look back on and hardly recognize, because it is the life you built, brick by brick, wave by wave, page by page, choice by choice. And remember, consistency doesn't require perfection. You don't have to do everything every day. Some days you will stumble. Some days you will falter. But as long as you return to the small actions, as long as you keep moving forward, compounding begins. And eventually, the results become undeniable, irreversible, unstoppable. Have you ever noticed how life has a way of testing us, often when we least expect it? One moment, everything feels aligned. The next, the ground seems to give way beneath your feet. Failures hit hard. They sting. They make you question your worth, your abilities, even your purpose. But here's something that most people don't realize. Failure is not a wall, it's a doorway. It is not a verdict, it is a lesson. The setbacks you face are not there to define you, but to refine you. Think about Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb on his first try, or his 100th. Thousands of experiments failed. Imagine the frustration, the exhaustion, the ridicule he must have felt. Most people would have given up. Most people would have let failure become the story they told themselves about their abilities. But Edison saw something different. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each setback was a clue, a stepping stone toward his ultimate breakthrough. His failures were not the opposite of success. They were the path to it. Consider someone closer home, someone you might know personally. A young woman applied for her dream job not once, but multiple times. Each rejection letter felt like a punch to her chest. Each no whispered, "You're not good enough." Most people would stop at the second, the third, or the fifth rejection. But she refused to accept that those letters defined her. She reflected, adjusted her approach, refined her skills, and tried again. Months later, when she finally received a yes, the victory felt sweeter than anything she could have imagined. She didn't reach her goal in spite of failure. She reached it because of what failure taught her. Failure also teaches resilience in ways success cannot. Imagine a young athlete training for a championship. Every loss, every stumble, every time he falls short of his goals is a lesson in grit. When he eventually wins, the victory is not just about talent. It's about the hundreds of moments he could have quit, but didn't. Each setback was a stepping stone, each defeat a teacher, each disappointment a mentor whispering lessons in patience, strategy, and self-belief. The real triumph lies not in avoiding failure, but in using it to climb higher. Failures are also the mirrors that reveal our blind spots. They expose weaknesses, habits, or fears we might otherwise ignore. I knew a man who started his own business, full of hope and energy. Within a year, he had to close the doors due to poor planning and financial mistakes. At first, it felt like the end of the road. But then he reflected. He sought mentorship, studied business strategies, and practiced patience and discipline he had never cultivated before. When he launched his second business, it thrived. The first failure had not been a curse. It had been preparation, training him to succeed the next time. Setbacks also reveal character. They show us who we truly are when the world doesn't go our way. Do we crumble, or do we stand taller? Do we allow fear to control us, or do we harness courage? J.K. Rowling, before she became a household name, was rejected by 12 publishers. She was a single mother, living on welfare, facing despair and doubt. Yet, she refused to let those setbacks define her. Instead, they fueled her determination. Each rejection sharpened her resolve, teaching her that persistence and belief are often stronger than immediate success. Sometimes, the smallest failures carry the largest lessons. A student who fails a math exam may feel crushed, but that failure can ignite the curiosity and discipline needed to truly understand the subject. A friend who betrays trust may cause pain, but that experience teaches discernment, empathy, and emotional intelligence. Life setbacks are not punishments. They are opportunities in disguise. Each one carries wisdom, if only we are willing to look. Imagine life as a winding mountain trail. Every rock you stumble on, every misstep, every moment you lose balance is not meant to stop you. It is meant to teach you how to navigate better. The path may be steep, the air thin, and the journey exhausting, but each stumble makes you more sure-footed. Each fall is not the end. It is training for the next climb. And when you finally reach the summit, you realize that the journey, full of failures, was the very thing that gave your triumph meaning. It is also worth noting that failure often precedes breakthroughs. The very things that seem like the end of the road can be the beginning of something greater. Consider the story of Walt Disney. He was fired from a newspaper job because his editor said he lacked imagination. He went bankrupt several times, faced ridicule, and experienced countless professional setbacks. Yet, each failure pushed him to innovate, to dream bigger, to build an empire that now inspires the world. Without failure, there may have been no Disneyland, no Mickey Mouse, no global cultural phenomenon. Failures also teach humility and empathy. When we stumble, when we fall, we connect with the struggles of others. A business leader who has lost everything can better guide employees through challenges. A parent who has faced rejection can better console a child who is hurt. Each setback softens, strengthens, and expands us. It reminds us that success is not merely about achievements. It is about growth, understanding, and humanity. I want you to reflect for a moment. How many times have you let a failure define you? How many times have you said, "I'm just not good at this," after one setback? The truth is, one failure is not the story of your life. One setback is not your destiny. Your potential is not written in a single moment of defeat. It is written in the sum of every choice, every effort, every time you decide to rise again. Remember the words of Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." His failures were not obstacles. They were lessons. Each missed shot, each lost game, each disappointment fueled his determination to improve, to train, to persist. Success was not accidental. It was the product of learning from failure and using it as a stepping stone toward greatness. So, when life knocks you down, don't see it as a verdict. Don't see it as a definition of your abilities. See it as an opportunity to grow. See it as a guidepost pointing you toward the skills, the mindset, and the resilience you need to move forward. Each setback is a chance to learn, to adapt, and to strengthen your resolve. Each failure is a building block, laying the foundation for your future victories. The key is not to avoid failure. It is impossible to do so entirely, but to embrace it, to understand that setbacks are temporary, lessons are permanent, and growth is inevitable for those who refuse to give up. Life's disappointments are not your enemy. They are your instructors. Your reactions, your persistence, your courage, those are what define you. Every failure is a stepping stone. Every setback a rehearsal. Every disappointment a mentor preparing you for the life you are capable of creating. And so, when you stumble, when you face rejection, when the world seems to push back harder than you expected, remind yourself that these moments are shaping you, refining you, teaching you. They are not your limits. They are your launch pads. They are not the end. They are the beginning. And if you keep moving, keep learning, keep rising, you will look back one day and realize that your failures were never failures at all. They were the stepping stones that carried you to the life you were meant to live. Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same situation in completely different ways? One sees obstacles. The other sees opportunity. One sees failure. The other sees a lesson. One feels trapped. The other feels empowered. The difference is not in the world outside. It is in the mind inside. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your internal narrative. They shape everything you see, feel, and ultimately experience. Your reality is not just something that happens to you. It is something that grows from within you, like a garden that flourishes or withers depending on the seeds you plant in your mind. I want you to imagine a young boy growing up in a small, poor neighborhood. Every day he saw struggle, heard complaints, and witnessed limitations. Most of the kids around him accepted the world as it was, believing their circumstances defined their possibilities. But this boy, let's call him Amir, had a different voice inside him, a voice that whispered, "This is not all there is. I can rise above this. I can create a different life for myself." That voice became his guide. He began to believe in learning, in curiosity, in his own abilities. He read books, asked questions, explored new ideas. Years later, Amir became a successful entrepreneur, inspiring thousands. The world he experienced was a reflection of the beliefs he chose to cultivate, not the limitations he was born into. Beliefs are powerful because they shape your perception of reality. If you tell yourself, "I am not capable," your mind will filter experiences to confirm that belief. Opportunities may appear, but fear will stop you from seizing them. If you tell yourself, "I deserve happiness," your mind will guide you toward choices that align with that truth. Your thoughts are like the lens through which you view the world, coloring every interaction, every decision, every emotion. Change the lens, and the world transforms around you. Consider a woman, I once met who worked in an office she hated. She believed for years that she was unlucky, that life had passed her by, that she would never escape the monotony. She went through the motions each day, resigned and frustrated. One day, a mentor asked her a simple question: "What do you believe about yourself that's holding you back?" That question shook her. She realized her beliefs were the prison, not her job. She began to challenge them. She reminded herself daily that she had skills, creativity, and worth. Slowly, her confidence grew. She started applying for new positions, networking, and pursuing opportunities that had seemed impossible before. Within a year, she had moved into a career she loved. The shift began not with a new job, but with a shift in belief. Your mind can also create miracles in ways that seem almost magical. I knew a man who suffered from chronic anxiety. Every situation felt dangerous, overwhelming, paralyzing. But he began practicing mindfulness, affirmations, and visualization. He told himself, "I am capable of calm. I am capable of handling this moment." At first, it was difficult, almost laughable to him. But gradually, his inner dialogue reshaped his perception of the world. Events that once triggered panic became manageable. Challenges that seemed impossible became opportunities. The world didn't change overnight, but his experience of it did. The lens through which he saw reality had shifted. Even history shows us the power of belief shaping reality. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, facing unimaginable suffering. Many would have emerged defeated, bitter, hopeless. But Mandela believed in freedom, in justice, in the possibility of reconciliation. That belief shaped his actions, his resilience, and ultimately, the transformation of a nation. The world reflected his inner convictions. He did not just dream of change, he embodied it. It is also important to recognize that negative thoughts and limiting beliefs can silently steal your power. Fear, doubt, resentment, and self-criticism are like weeds in the garden of your mind. If left unchecked, they spread, choke growth, and distort your reality. That is why awareness is crucial. You must notice the stories you tell yourself. You must question the narratives that limit you. Every time you catch a thought that says, "I can't," replace it with, "How can I?" Every time self-doubt creeps in, ask, "What is possible if I believe in myself?" Your beliefs are the architects of your life. Build wisely. Think about athletes, performers, and leaders. One of the most powerful tools they use is visualization, a deliberate mental rehearsal of success. Why? Because the brain cannot fully distinguish between imagined success and actual experience. By believing in their performance before it happens, they shape the reality of their outcome. Their thoughts, their belief in possibility, guide their actions, influence their energy, and ultimately determine the results. You can do the same. Belief also influences relationships. When you believe in kindness, empathy, and trust, you act in ways that invite the same qualities from others. When you believe in your own worth, you attract people who respect and support you. Conversely, if you believe people are untrustworthy or that you are unworthy, you will perceive and experience confirmation of that belief everywhere. Your inner narrative becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The world is a mirror reflecting your mind. Ask yourself this: what beliefs are shaping your reality right now? Are they helping you grow, or are they holding you back? What would happen if you decided to adopt a belief in your own possibility, your own resilience, your own worth? What would change if you treated yourself as capable, deserving, and unstoppable? Small shifts in belief can cascade into massive changes in how you experience life. I want you to imagine the life you want. Picture it vividly, with every detail, every sense engaged. Now ask yourself, what beliefs must I adopt to step into that life? What stories must I tell myself every day to make it real? Because the truth is, until your mind accepts it, reality will resist it. Your inner world creates the outer world. By changing your beliefs, you change your world. And the most liberating part is this: you have the power to choose your beliefs. No one can dictate what you think unless you allow it. You can cultivate beliefs that empower, uplift, and expand you. You can let go of limiting thoughts, old fears, and self-doubt. You can rewrite the lens through which you experience life. That is the gateway to transformation. That is a path to a reality that reflects your highest potential not your past limitations. So the next time you feel trapped, frustrated, or powerless, look inward. Examine your beliefs. Nurture the ones that empower you. Challenge the ones that hold you back. Because your thoughts are not just reflections. They are the seeds from which your reality grows. And when you change the garden of your mind, the world outside will inevitably blossom with it, as if it's been waiting all along for you to believe in the possibility of a brighter, richer, more fulfilling life. Courage is not the absence of fear. Many people believe it is. They think courage is leaping without hesitation, facing the unknown without trembling. But real courage is something quieter, something deeper. It is the voice that whispers, "I will try again," when every part of you wants to quit. It is a hand you extend toward a dream, even when your heart pounds and doubt screams. Without courage, the desire to change your reality remains just that, a desire, a dream that flickers but never takes hold. I remember a young man, let's call him Daniel. He had a stable job, but it brought him no joy. Inside, he longed to start a small business, to create something that was his own, something that would matter. Every day, he would scroll through success stories online and feel the pull of possibility, yet the fear of failure chained him in place. The world around him said, "Stay safe, don't risk it," and for a time, he listened. But one evening, he realized that safety had been a cage all along. He told himself, "I may be scared, but I will not let fear control me anymore." That simple act of courage, showing up despite fear, was the first brick in building a new reality. Persistence is the next piece of the puzzle. Courage may get you started, but persistence carries you through. Change is rarely immediate. Transformation rarely happens overnight. Most people give up after the first sign of difficulty. Most people quit after encountering obstacles. But persistence is the quiet refusal to surrender. It is a determination to show up day after day, no matter the setbacks, no matter fatigue, no matter the doubt. There was a woman named Maria who dreamed of becoming a teacher. She applied to countless schools, attended interviews, faced rejection after rejection. Each rejection felt like a personal failure, a signal that she should give up. But Maria had a vision for her life that was bigger than any single no. She persisted. She improved her skills, refined her approach, sought feedback, and kept applying. A year later, she finally received an offer from a school she loved. Her persistence turned repeated setbacks into stepping stones, shaping a reality that initially seemed unreachable. Self-commitment is the third element. The unwavering promise you make to yourself that you will not settle for less than your potential. It is the internal contract that says, "I am worth the effort. I will not abandon my dreams. I will show up for myself every day." Without self-commitment, courage falters and persistence wavers. The world will test you. Life will distract you. Challenges will tempt you to quit. Only by committing fully to yourself do you develop a backbone to endure, to rise, and to create change. Let me tell you a story of someone who embodies all three: courage, persistence, and self-commitment. A man named Raj wanted to become a musician. He had no formal training, little money, and a family that doubted his dream. Each day he practiced in secret, often for hours, struggling with instruments he could barely afford. He faced ridicule, rejection, and countless moments where quitting seemed easier. But he had courage. He showed up for his dream even when he was terrified. He had persistence. He practiced every day, learning, failing, and trying again. And he had self-commitment. He refused to let anyone, including himself, tell him he was not worthy of pursuing this life. Years later, Raj performed on stages he had only dreamed of. His reality had changed, not because of luck or talent alone, but because of his unwavering dedication to these three principles. Courage, persistence, and self-commitment work together in a cycle. Courage pushes you to begin. Persistence carries you through the storm. Self-commitment keeps you accountable, especially when the world offers distractions, doubts, or easier paths. Without one, the others falter. Imagine a boat on a rough sea. Courage is the oar that propels you forward into the waves. Persistence is the steady stroke that keeps you moving through the storm. Self-commitment is the anchor that keeps you aligned with your destination, preventing you from drifting off course. Every great change in history is rooted in these three principles. Consider Martin Luther King Jr., who faced constant danger and immense opposition. His courage allowed him to speak truth to power. His persistence carried him through years of struggle, marches, and threats. And his self-commitment, his unwavering dedication to justice and equality, ensured that he never wavered from his mission. The reality he sought, freedom, equality, justice, was shaped by his commitment to these principles, and his life transformed the world around him. Even on a smaller, personal scale, these qualities matter. Think about someone trying to leave a toxic relationship or break a destructive habit. Courage is needed to take the first step. Persistence is needed to continue walking that path when the pull of old patterns feels irresistible. Self-commitment ensures that you honor yourself, even when the path is lonely or uncertain. Change becomes possible only when these three forces converge. It is also worth noting that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It whispers, try again, you can do this, don't give up yet. Persistence is not always dramatic. It can be a quiet daily choice to show up, to act, to continue. Self-commitment is often invisible to the outside world, yet it is a foundation upon which transformation is built. The extraordinary is often the accumulation of ordinary, persistent, committed actions fueled by courage. Consider the story of a woman named Layla. She wanted to become a doctor, but grew up in a village where opportunities were scarce and expectations were low. She faced financial hardship, societal pressure, and countless discouragements. But she had courage. She applied to medical schools despite her doubts. She had persistence. She studied for years, faced exams, and endured long nights. She had self-commitment. She refused to let anyone's doubt dictate her life. The day she finally walked into her white coat for the first time as a doctor, she had not only changed her own reality, but she had created hope for others in her community, showing what courage, persistence, and self-commitment can achieve. Every person listening has the same potential. Every person has the capacity to harness courage, persistence, and self-commitment to reshape their life. It doesn't matter where you start, how many setbacks you faced, or how many times you've been told it's impossible. The power lies within you. The question is, are you willing to be courageous enough to start, persistent enough to continue, and committed enough to yourself to finish what you've begun? So, when fear whispers, show up anyway. When challenges rise, keep moving forward. When doubt tempts you to abandon your dreams, remember why you started and honor the commitment you made to yourself. Each time you act with courage, persist with determination, and stay committed to your vision, you take another step toward changing your reality. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that the life you live is not the result of luck, timing, or chance. It is a result of your courage, your persistence, and your unwavering commitment to yourself, proving that the power to change your reality has always been in your hands. How many times have you found yourself saying, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll do it next week, or I'm not ready yet? We convince ourselves that there is a perfect moment waiting somewhere in the future, a moment when everything aligns, when the stars shine in our favor, when life finally gives us permission to begin. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment. There's only now, right now. Every step you take today, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you imagine. Every moment you hesitate is a moment that could have been a step forward. Action is the bridge between dreams and reality, and without it, your dreams remain invisible, unshaped, untouched by your hands. I want to tell you about a man named Elias. He had always dreamed of opening a small cafe, a cozy place where people could gather, laugh, and feel at home. But he was overwhelmed by doubt, financial worries, fear of failure, and the weight of responsibility pressed down on him. For years, he spoke about his dream, imagined a cafe, decorated in his mind, and planned every detail. And yet, nothing happened. One morning, he realized that if he waited any longer, the dream would wither. So he took one step. He rented a tiny space, bought a few chairs, and made coffee. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't glamorous. The sign was crooked. The menu was small. The customers were few. But that first action set everything in motion. Slowly, day by day, the cafe grew. People came, word spread, and his dream became reality. The action, simple as it was, created momentum. Without it, he would still be waiting. Action transforms thought into experience. You can plan, strategize, and visualize endlessly, but until you move, nothing changes. There's a story about a young artist named Layla who dreamed of showcasing her paintings in a gallery. She hesitated for years, worried they weren't good enough. One day, a friend said to her, "You'll never know until you try." That afternoon, she submitted a single painting to a small local gallery. It was accepted. The first exhibition led to another, then another. The small act of submitting her work opened doors she didn't even know existed. Every journey begins with a step, and every step, however small, has the potential to transform your life. Action also builds confidence. Each time you move forward, even in fear, you prove to yourself that you are capable. I remember a young woman named Farah who wanted to run her first marathon. She doubted herself, feared failure, and worried about what others would think. But she started by walking a few blocks each day. Then she ran a mile, then two. Each step built her courage and belief in her own abilities. By the time the marathon came, she didn't just cross the finish line physically. She had crossed a threshold mentally, proving that action, repeated consistently, is the foundation of confidence and accomplishment. Sometimes the hardest part is starting. Action demands courage because it exposes us to the unknown, to the possibility of mistakes, to vulnerability. But think of a small child learning to ride a bicycle. The first push, the wobble, the inevitable fall, they are all terrifying. Yet the child gets back up, takes another push, and gradually discovers balance. Without that first attempt, the child would never experience the joy of riding freely. Action, even imperfect action, is the only way to discover your strength, your resilience, and your potential. There's also a compounding effect to action. One step leads to another, momentum builds, and opportunities multiply. I knew a man named Samir who wanted to write a book, but didn't know where to start. He began by writing a single page. The next day, another page. Each week, the pages accumulated. Months later, he had completed a manuscript. The book attracted attention. Publishers reached out, and a new chapter of his life opened. If he had waited for inspiration or the perfect circumstances, none of it would have happened. Action transforms possibility into probability. Action also turns fear into clarity. Fear thrives in inaction. When you sit with doubt and hesitation, fear grows, imagination magnifies worst-case scenarios, and stagnation becomes normal. But the moment you act, you break the spell. You discover that the obstacles are smaller than they seemed, that the worst fears are often unfounded, and that the path forward becomes visible only when you take that first step. A student I knew was terrified to speak in public. He rehearsed endlessly, worrying about mistakes, imagining humiliation. The moment he walked onto the stage for the first time, heart pounding, he realized that his fears were shadows. Action revealed reality, and reality dissolved fear. Even small actions can have ripple effects beyond what you imagine. Consider the story of a man who decided to volunteer 1 hour a week at a local shelter. That single action led to friendships, mentorship opportunities, and a career shift that aligned with his passions. The first step, though modest, created a chain reaction of possibilities. Life responds to movement. Stagnation breeds regret. Action breeds growth. Action is also an act of self-respect. It says, I am worth the effort. I am not waiting for permission. I will take control of my life. Every time you act, you honor yourself and your potential. You refuse to be a bystander in your own story. You claim ownership of your dreams and your destiny. The smallest steps, taken consistently, communicate a powerful message. You matter, your life matters, and your reality can be shaped by your choices. Imagine looking back a year from now. Imagine that you had taken a single step today, however small. What doors would have opened? What fears would have been diminished? What confidence would have been built? And imagine if you had done nothing. How many opportunities would have been lost? How many dreams left unfulfilled? The difference between these two futures is action, and action is always available to you. It does not require permission, perfect timing, or the absence of fear. It only requires your willingness to move. So start now. Take one step. Make one call. Write one email. Open one book. Speak one word. Try one new thing. Let action replace hesitation. Let movement replace doubt. Every step forward compounds, shaping the reality you desire. The life you imagine is not a distant dream. It is the accumulation of steps you choose to take today. Each action is a vote for the person you want to become, for the reality you want to live, for the future that is waiting for you to claim it. And one day, when you look back, you will see a path paved by countless small actions, a journey that began with courage, persistence, and commitment. You will realize that your dream life was not handed to you. It was built step by step, moment by moment, decision by decision. The power to change your reality has always been in your hands, and it begins with this one step, taken right now. So, I ask you one last time, what will you do today? Will you wait for the perfect moment that may never come? Or will you step forward right now, right here, and begin shaping the reality you deserve? Every choice matters. Every action counts. Every second is a chance to take one step closer to the life you dream of. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Do not let fear steal another day. Begin now. Begin now. Begin now. Show up for yourself. Commit to your dreams. Act with courage. Persist with passion. And honor the promise you made to yourself the moment you realize your potential. Your life will not change by accident. It will not change while you sit and hope. It will change when you decide it must. And when you act on that decision, it will change when you refuse to settle for anything less than what you are capable of becoming. Remember this. Every second you wait is a second lost. Every action you take is a vote for the reality you want. Every step forward, no matter how small, compounds into a future that you once only imagined. The power is in your hands. The time is now. The choice is yours. And one day, when you look back, you will see that everything began with this moment. Everything began with this decision. Everything began with your courage to take action. Change your thoughts. Change your habits. Change your actions. Change your life. Because if not now, then when? If this message touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share forward. Thank you for watching.